Hello and welcome back to Corner 92, the show that brings you up close and personal to the National League. We'll talk about the results, the games, the players, and everything that goes on. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Femi Ilesanmi, my co-host, and also I'm joined by arguably the best striker the National League has ever seen, in Macaulay Langstaff, an old teammate of mine at Gateshead. Welcome to the show, Mac. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. No worries. So what are you saying? Back in the goals, yeah? Different league, same outcome, yeah?
Yeah, obviously, I think the first three games didn't score, so I was playing on my mind a little bit. But I think, yeah, we've started really well, to be honest. After the first game, yeah, we got beat 5-1 the first game. And since then, we've recovered really well. And I think we've put together 4 wins and a draw. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I got a brace a couple of weeks ago against Doncaster away, which obviously my first couple of Football League goals, which was a proud moment. And then another 2 goals yesterday, so really happy with that, yeah.
No, we're going to get straight into it because obviously we played together at Gateshead, and that's what I gave you the nickname Owen, because I felt like you was just a little Michael Owen, like always popping up with the goals in training. But it felt as though you probably didn't get the chance you deserved while we was at Gateshead. Was there ever a doubt in your mind that you'd ever make it to the league?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I ever thought I would, to be honest. And that's not me being negative. I just think I was quite realistic at the time. I was nowhere near good enough to be playing week in, week out at Gateshead, in my opinion. As I've got older and matured, I've learned the game, the ins and outs of the game, really, and I've learned so much more. And I'm a more complete all-round player, and I'm not nowhere near complete. Still so many levels to go through. But at that time, yeah, I thought Football League, obviously it was a game. I think for any non-league player, you want to play in the Football League. But it was never really, I never thought it was going to happen, really. And I had a tough few years where I wasn't even getting in squads, really. And it was just, trying to stay at the highest level possible. Obviously, earn some money. But it was never really a case of, I want to get the football. Well, I wanted to get Football League, but it was never a case of I thought I was going to. So, yeah, obviously, you've seen like Gateshead, I was young, probably a little bit naive. And the level was probably too tough for me at that time. I admit that.
Yeah.
So, Maka, congratulations first and foremost on your new contract, 4-year deal. You're the
4 years.
4 years, Jam.
You're the first player that signed a 4-year deal outside the championship, bro. Well done.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
I don't blame him.
But talk to me about the last couple of years and what it's been like for you. Obviously, you were with Gateshead in the National League North. You got them promoted, firing a bunch of goals. Following season, you've gone to Notts County, you've done the same thing and got them promoted. Just talk to me about the whirlwind experience over the last couple of years.
Yes, it's been crazy, really. I think, like I spoke about there, when you go from not getting in squads and not playing to all of a sudden a season like I had, like the first season at Gateshead. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, you're right. I think, obviously, after the first season, you scored 32 goals, but it's the first time you've ever done that. So you think, can I go and replicate that? Can I go and kick on again? Am I just a one-season wonder? You see a lot of strikers having an unbelievable season and not sustaining it. It's so tough to sustain. So to go to Notts County, I had a lot of doubters, stepping up a level. Like people were saying, he's done it one season, can he do it again? So to go and do it again, and even better rates, to score 42, yeah, it has been a bit of a whirlwind. I don't know what to say about it, really. It's been a crazy couple of years. But not just that, in terms of my goals, to win the league with Gateshead, an unbelievable club, by the way. Jamal will tell you, community, Mike and Busted there, just unbelievable guys. To win the league with them, being top scorer in the league, and then going to Notts County and getting promoted the way we did at Wembley and being a top scorer in the league again, I couldn't have stayed better 2 years. I think some players go the full career out getting a promotion. So to have 2 back-to-back, it's been incredible.
No, that's amazing to hear. And obviously, you just mentioned that you won the league with Gateshead and you won at Wembley with Notts County. Now, obviously, we all know that last season was one of the most entertaining seasons ever with you and Wrexham going toe-to-toe, Would you say that was how it's supposed to end? It was meant to end for Notts County to win at Wembley Stadium. It wasn't meant for them to actually win the league. Would you say winning at Wembley was the happy ending that, and it feels better to win at Wembley than winning the league? You experienced both in 2 years.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I think personally I like to say I've won the league. You know, to be the best team in the league, I think you want to say that. But winning at Wembley on penalties, yeah, you can't get better than that. I think it's the best feeling I've had on the football pitch. So yeah, I would like to say, you know, number one in the league, we're the best. No one was better than us. Record points totals, everything like that. But yeah, I don't think in terms of a one-off game on the pitch, there's no better feeling than winning at Wembley. And you've seen the points totals that both teams set, and I think it was deserved in the end. You know, for Wrexham Notts County to go up, if we didn't go up, it'd have been a massive blow because to get that many points, and that's why the playoffs were so tough, and that's why I thought obviously we play against you guys, we're nowhere near our best in the semi-final or final because it's hard to reset. You know, when you get that many points and then you've got to go into playoffs and these teams have the same chance as you after being so far ahead. It's hard to reset. You can tell yourself as much as you want, yeah, let's just get back to basics, reset, go again. But subconsciously, you think we should be promoted now. We should be on the beach somewhere, you know, celebrating. So it was really difficult to go again. But yeah, I feel at Wembley, penalties, it's the best feeling I've on the football pitch. I wouldn't change that now.
It seems as though, obviously, with you guys, it shows you've got a real mental strength about you guys. But talk me through when we did play that game, and I hate going back to the game. It plays on my mind, but talk me through that semi-final. Obviously, myself and Femi, we went 2-0 up with Bournemouth against you guys. Femi obviously scored the opener. Was there any doubts in your mind at that point when you're like, okay, because you know about our defensive record, we're probably the best defensive team last season. Was there any doubts in your mind at that point, like, oh my God, we might mess this up here? Or was it never in doubt for you then?
No, absolutely there's doubts. I think I'd be lying if I sat here and said I was still confident at 2-0 down that we were going to go on to win. You look at the game and you go 2-0 down and you think it's meant to be, you know, we get that many points, we're going to the playoffs and you get beat. It's sort of meant to be, like, it's not meant for us to go. And yeah, you speak about your defensive records, it speaks for itself. You look at the goal you conceded last year. I think you conceded the least in the league. We were obviously going for that target, but you conceded the least, I think, in the end. And so when you go into that game, if you went 1-0 up, especially 2-0 up, it's going to be really tough because how disciplined you are. And your game plan, I think, was spot on. We had a few chances, I think, early on, but I think your game plan in that game was unbelievable. And yeah, when you go 2-0 down, you just think, honestly, I couldn't believe it. Genuinely, Jam, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, and then you look at the way, I think the mental strength there comes from the gaffer. The half-time team talk and everything was unbelievable. And everything comes from him. The mental strength he's instilled in that us from day one. He's unbelievable, to be fair. And the way we came back and obviously got the late goal in the normal time, late goal in extra time, I think you look at that and I think it's meant to be.
Without revealing too many of your secrets from your gaffer, how does he instill that mental strength? Because even at our age, me and Femi are still trying to learn. And how does he instill that belief and mental strength in a squad that is filled with players that have played at a much higher level?
Do you know what, Jam? It's hard to put your finger on it because it sort of came. He's got a presence about him, and all when he speaks, you listen. And even in that half-time team talk, again in semi-final against Hughes, he's speaking, and everyone just got their eyes fixed on him and just believe everything he says because everything in the season he said came true. So when he's telling us to do things on a training pitch and it's working on a Saturday, or when he's telling us to do things at half-time on a Saturday and it's working, you just believe everything he says. So when he's sat in front of you, he's telling everyone how good they are. As a man manager, I've never came across a guy like him in my life. Just even small things that you'll appreciate, like pulling you into the office randomly and just telling you how good you are. No need to do it really. Just obviously he'll treat different players differently because some people need that. But yeah, just pulling you in the office, telling you how good you are. And I think from day one, the discipline is set and everyone bought into it. Like you said, we've got players that have played at the top level. Like it's John Bostock, top level, and they're coming to play for Luke Williams, and just hang off every word he says. He's just he's an incredible guy, yeah, incredible manager. I can't speak highly enough of him, to be fair. Okay. Yeah,
I'll be honest with you, Maka. Though I've got a claim to fame now. I think Bournemouth are the only team you didn't score against in 3 games last year. And I like to say to people, yeah, I know all Maka's tricks. I've trained with him. I've trained against him for 1.5 years, so I know what he's going to do before he knows what he's going to do. But after the magnificent season you had last year, there was comparisons to Erling Haaland and everything. It was a real honour to go back toe to toe with you in them games. And you're one of those strikers that if you fall asleep, and I'm sure everyone, you probably scored against every team in our league, but if you fall asleep, you're really in the position to score your goals. And one of the best stats that I thought of yours last year was all your goals from open play. So talk me through that. Why did you not take penalties? And then when you had that penalty in the final, was there any nerves for you? I'm sure you was practicing them anyway, but was there any nerves going into that penalty shootout where you thought, I'm not actually taking a penalty this year?
So the penalty situation at the start was Ruben Rodriguez. It was unbelievable on penalties. His record, I think he scored one against Bournemouth at home at your place as well.
Yes.
Earlier in the season. That was his first one. So he continued from the last season. He scored in the playoffs in the season before. And then obviously we got the penalty earlier in the season against Hughes. He scores, and he was our best penalty taker, in my opinion. So I'm not going to say to him, I want to take the penalties because I'm top goal scorer, because that's at a detriment to the team. I don't believe that that's the right thing for the team, because he's our best penalty taker. And if we get a penalty, I think the best chance of scoring is Ruben taking it. And he had him last year, so it was only right he went into the season as penalty taker. And he continued in his record. I think he scored 9 out of 11, which is incredible for a penalty record. Really good. So yeah, when we got into the final, I think there was a little bit of talk about that as well. And you are thinking, there's been a lot of talk about open play goals and things like that. So I'm walking up to the penalty thinking, obviously I haven't took one this season. People are going to say this is his first one. But yeah, like you say, we were practicing for 2 weeks, obviously the lead up to your game and the lead up to the final. And again, I've got to mention the gaffer, because I think some people go into a penalty shootout and people say it's a lottery. And the gaffer was like, from day one, he was like, it's not a lottery. We've done so much research on him. And we literally took, must have been 40, 50 penalties each going into both games. And he was like, obviously, I might be giving away a few secrets here, but he was saying, he told us to pick your penalty and don't change it even in training. Do you know when you see people in training and they're whipping it in top bins, you're thinking, you aren't going to do that in the final. You're not going to try and get it right in the top corner. He's like, take the penalty that you want to take. And he gave us a few tips in terms of our walking up to the penalty and celebrating afterwards. The amount of research he done was incredible. He left no stone unturned. So we practiced so much. I was striking them so clean. And genuinely, Jam and Fem, up until the Bournemouth game, I'd done the same penalty I was going to do at Wembley. I didn't miss one.
Yeah.
And then going into the Wembley game as well, didn't miss one again. So obviously I was nervous, of course. You're at Wembley in the playoff final. My lips went dry, my mouth went dry, legs go heavy. And yeah, I was so nervous, and I was thought, you know what, just do what you've done for the last couple of weeks.
So of those 50 pennies that you're taking, did John Bostock think every single one?
So we knew, so every player that stood up, we knew that what penalty they were going to take. We knew Ruben was going to do a little stutter, go to the keeper's right, I think. Yeah. We knew Jolie was going to go keeper's left with a little stutter. Man was obviously down the middle. Kedwin's was down the middle. Yeah. And so we knew John was going to chip it. I think he got a lot of stick for that. Like everyone was trying to say, obviously trying to be the game winner, and everyone remember John Bostock, but he's done it 6 times out of 11 penalties, I think, in his career. And he's doing them in training. So if we didn't agree with it, we would have said in training, John, don't do that. Don't do that. But the gaffer wanted him to do it. He's scored 6. Yeah, of course, because he was doing it well in training. And even the penalty, it's not the worst. Like, he's got a good contact, the keeper's went. He's done everything right apart from, obviously, the height. So if we thought he was wrong in doing that, we would have said to him, John, don't do that, like, in the lead up to the game. So we knew he was going to do it. And like I said, Kedwin scoring after that, after missing a penalty on Wrexham as well, I was so happy for Kedwin to score the winning penalty.
And finally, before we move on, Maka, yeah, obviously, 42 goals last season. I know we've mentioned it already, but you must have had a list of football clubs that must have wanted to acquire your services. Now, you spoke highly of this manager, and he sounds like a manager that just gets the players' trust. He earns the players' trust immediately. Tactically, you go out on the pitch, and what he says works. That immediately earns trust of the manager. You know what I mean? Would you say that's a big factor why you've committed to the 4-year contract?
I think the biggest factor. Like you say about the clubs and stuff, I spoke earlier about the first few years and how tough I found it, not getting in the squads and not playing. And I think happiness in football is so underrated. It's the most important thing for me. I don't care what anyone says. If you're happy in football and enjoying football and everything's good off the pitch, on the pitch will follow. And maybe I could have went elsewhere and I could have been happy at that club, but it's a big risk. So to play for a manager who is unbelievable and to be so happy off the pitch in terms of around the city, the club's unbelievable. You've been to Meadow Lane, the facilities and everything that the staff they've got there. It's a League Two club operating at Championship level, in my opinion. It's unbelievable. So why would I want to change that? Like I said, I've been in them situations in football where my head's been gone, and the amount of, you speak about money, the amount of money you pay to be in a happy place, you pay any amount of money. So to be in a happy place now and a football club I love, why change that? I don't believe that just for an extra few quid you should go and move clubs. I do believe that trying to play at the highest level possible. I completely get that. But when you've got something good and I'm not just at a club that is trying to stay in League Two. I'm at a club that wants to progress and go for the levels. I want to be part of that project. So I don't know why I would change that, to be honest.
No, of course.
And I feel like you guys will get promoted again. I said it. As soon as you guys went up, I was like, they'll go again. They'll go again. And especially with the acquiring Didzy, David McGoldrick, you and him, yeah, forget about it. Probably the best strike partnership in League Two. And I'm going to go and say League One as well. Sorry, League One.
You got in Team of the Year, didn't you, for League One?
Yeah. Team of the Year. Incredible.
But yeah, let's move on to some of the games. And Mac, I'm really interested in your perspective on the National League. Obviously, you've clocked it, got the T-shirt, bossed it last year. But Chesterfield versus Aldershot yesterday, they beat their Aldershot away from home 4-3. Now, is there a added pressure playing for a bigger club, a so-called favourite, a so-called club that should be walking leagues? Let's be honest, Chesterfield and Oldham are probably the favourites. So is there an added pressure that every single time you play a team, they're bringing their best because they either want to impress, they want to get a move, they're playing against the best team. So is it harder to play for a team of that stature? And what do you can give us an insight into how those Chesterfield boys are playing? Because they've had a lot of games recently that have been high scoring games.
Of course, it's added pressure. These clubs, the amount of fans they get every single game, home and away, it's incredible. Playing for a big club comes with pressure, but I'd also look at the other side and the smaller clubs where it means everything to them. Just staying in the league, it means potentially losing jobs or not. So I would say there's a little bit added pressure, but I think if you look at the other side of that and these smaller clubs and fighting to stay in the league and things like that, I imagine the pressure they've got on them as well. Yeah, like I mentioned, Chesterfield and Oldham, Chesterfield are a huge club, and I think they're probably the favourites to win the league this year. And you see the high scoring games. I think it was a 4-3 yesterday, the one. Yeah. So yeah, when teams turn up to Chesterfield and you've got the facilities and the size of the club, I think naturally you raise your game. Even us as Notts County players, when we went to Chesterfield, even though we're playing for a big club in ourselves, you raise your game because Chesterfield are a huge club. So we're raising our games for them as well. And I think like last year, we seen that at times at Meadow Lane, our record was incredible. But when teams came, it was like an extra 10, 20%. And things we'd watch on videos, clips we'd watch leading up to the game. And they'd do something completely different. And it's almost like a no-win situation for us and a no-lose situation for them because they come in not expecting to win and just thinking, do you know what, we're going to enjoy it, big crowd, nice stadium, and we're trying to go on the pitch, and if we lose, we lose it, and if we win, incredible, and just playing with no fear. I think you find that, and I think that's why you find, especially this year with Chesterfield, there's been a couple of late goals are conceded and they won a couple of games, but that's because teams are raising the game going to Chesterfield, and I think you'll find it with the likes of Oldham as well.
Of course. And obviously Will Griggs back in the goals as well. It seems as though now, after Paul Mullin, after yourself, everyone seems to think bringing in a striker is going to be the change of their fortune. So obviously Will Griggs scored yesterday, and Joe quickly bagged as well. So you see, it seems like that's the way everyone's trying to go now to see how far they can take it with their team. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Femi, on the Hartlepool result. Hartlepool flying again, beating Willstone 2-1. Desiree popping up with another goal. What do you think about that game, Fem?
Look, I've been singing Hartlepool's praises highly, and obviously coming down from League Two, I think John Askey, he's been rewarded with a new contract as well. So congratulations to him. But yeah, he's recruited really well. He knows the league well. He's been there before. He done it with, was it Macclesfield he did it with? Yeah, so a couple of years back. So yeah, he knows the league. He knows what it takes to get at this league. And Hartlepool are just going about their business, getting results, getting wins. And yeah, another win on the board for them. So credit to them.
So yeah, a team that we all know and are really familiar with, York City, a team that we've all played for. We've all had varied success at that club, but I suppose that's the way that club has been over the last couple of years. Obviously, managers at the moment, and Mike Williamson, your old gaffer, is being linked with the job. I heard betting suspended on him taking over the job. They lost 4-1 against Ebbsfleet yesterday. What do you see at York right now, Maka? Like, how is it? What does it look like to you as a club? And obviously you played there a few seasons ago as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to say from my time there because it's completely different now. I think there's new ownership, new management. I don't think there's any. I think Paddy's the only player that's still at York now. So yeah, it's difficult to say how I've seen the last couple of years. I followed it a little bit, not too much. But a huge club, like he's both players for York. Huge club, unbelievable fan base. And I think going into the season, they made some really good signings, and I expected them to be right up there challenging. And obviously, it's only early, but they've had a tough start. I think, like you mentioned, Ebbsfleet had a really good start. You mentioned Don Paulion, he's flying 7-7. So tough place to go, especially with no manager. It's never easy. You want a manager in place all the time, putting tactics in place and motivating the players. So that must have been difficult. But I think the squad they've got, like you say, you can't really comment without knowing who the manager's going to be. Mike Williamson's obviously the favourite and the betting, and I believe, obviously I don't want to speak on as if he's going to leave Gateshead because I've got a lot of love for Gateshead, but if he did go there, someone like him would be unbelievable for the club. So yeah, I can see him getting going, to be honest. I think they've got a good enough squad there, and I think once they get a manager in place and they get a few wins on the board with the fan base, they're starting the big crowds in again, and I think they'll climb the league.
Yeah.
Taking nothing away from Ebbsfleet though. Ebbsfleet, I think, yeah, they've come in the league and they've really cemented, and definitely let people know that we're in this division and we're not here to play games. They've been putting a string of results together, man, and I've heard that they play amazing football. So yeah, credit to them. And Don Paulion, like you said, he's flying. So credit to them. We got them in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to playing against them.
And a lot of clubs that come up usually struggle or take time to settle in. It seems as though they just hit the ground running, And in the last episode, I said that Don Paulion's goal scoring feats it's going to be hard to match Macca, but I said if there's anyone that can do it, it's him. He's already, as Macca said, 7-7 last season's top goal scorer in the National League South. So it was no surprise that he's top of the goal scoring charts now. But yeah, it would be interesting if Mike Williamson goes. It would be a huge loss for Gateshead because what he's done for that club in a short amount of time he's been there has been nothing short of sensational, But again, going back to them, obviously they drew yesterday 2-2 with Oldham. And let's be honest, the football that Gateshead play, it's a joy to watch. A bit similar to Notts County in a way, that the systems and the transitions and the way they move the ball is really similar to the way you guys played last season. And I think they was unlucky not to come away with a win. I know that they come from behind twice, but it would have been interesting to see how that game panned out if they won. But what do you see from Gateshead, and do you think they can really push on this season? Because there are a lot of sick people's dark horse this year, Macca.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the start of the season, I predicted them to be in the playoffs, comfortably in the playoffs as well. Last season, they had a tricky start and they were fighting relegation for a long time. And I thought they're way too good to go down. The team on paper and the way they play, like you said, they play football the right way. And I think it took them a while to get going, but they finished the season so strongly. I think they end up finishing around mid-table. So I thought they'll just take that in the pre-season and in the new season and have a really good season. And I think they've had a bit of a mixed start. They're around mid-table now, but I can just see them going from strength to strength, to be honest, because I look at the squads. They've had a few injuries which haven't helped. A few big players out for a couple of months, I think. So that's been difficult for them. But I think if they get back to winning ways, I think they'll just grow and grow. Once they get a few wins, the type of club I played for them, the type of club that once they get a few wins, just keep on going, putting their runs together, wins after wins. I think I can see them being in the playoffs comfortably. Obviously, you mentioned Mike there, a manager I played for, incredible guy, incredible manager, tactically so switched on. The systems he's got, the way he sees the game, and as a man manager as well, psychologically, he gets you in the office and honestly, he mesmerises you. He's huge on that. Yeah, I think he studied a degree in psychology, and some of his methods and things like that. And the way, I think that's a big reason for me changing my form and changing my career, sitting with him and speaking to him. Some unbelievable tips he gave me. So as a manager, he's incredible. And I think, yeah, like I say, once they get a few wins on the board, they'll just climb the league. And I can see him being in the round playoffs.
No, of course. And you know what? That was going to be one of my questions to you, Maka. As you brought it up, we'll touch on it quickly. What was the turning point for you? Because you wasn't. It didn't seem like you settled. You went from a few clubs to a few clubs, but it seems as though back home, maybe the home comforts is something that really helped you. But what was the turning point in your career, do you feel? Was it a manager? Was it a club? Was it a mindset? What was it?
Yeah, so I think obviously people forget about the first year at Gateshead. I didn't play, really. I was on the bench. Coming on, I scored a few goals that year, but just under Mike and Busted as well, just didn't play really at all that year. And it was when COVID was around, and in the January, the season got cut short in the National League North. National League continued, but the National League North got cut short, and a lot of teams just said, go away, we'll see you in the summer. Obviously, they couldn't afford to pay the players. It was a tough time for everyone. So Gateshead, to be fair, we just said, we're going to keep on training. And Mike, that's credit to Mike, he said, I want to work with you, I want to improve you, I want to go next season and be the best prepared we can be. And so from the January to the summer, to be honest, Jam, when the season got cut short, I was out of contract in the summer. And I thought, I'm probably not going to get offered a new deal here because I haven't played it all this year. There's no more games to impress. I can train, I can do my best in training, but there's no more games to impress. So how am I going to get a new deal? So I was sort of thinking about other options, really. And then, do you know what I thought? I was going to train every day. I thought, I'm probably going to get released. It's no lose situation for me. I'm just going to go in and just get the most out of it I can. Yeah. Be the fittest I can ever be, strongest, take the most in tactically, just learn about the game. There's no games to think about, no recovery, so it's literally just coming in, train every single day. And I'm just going to give it everything. And it wasn't necessarily to get a new contract. It was more for myself, just to go, I'm just going to put in every single day. And I did that anyway. I worked hard. I was always a hard worker in training and things, but that was to another level. I took it up a level in that 6 months leading into the summer. And we started having friendlies. And one of the friendlies was against Sunderland, behind closed doors. And we won 3-0, I scored 2. And I came away from that game just feeling different. I was just confident. And the training the next couple of days, I was even better in training. And my confidence just grew and grew. And I think I started to change Mike's mind a little bit. I think he always rated me, but he thought there was something missing. And I think that was more mentally. He thought there was something missing because he sees things like that. So my confidence just grew and my belief. And people ask if confidence is the most important thing in football. By far, it's the most important thing in football. Give me a player that's not average, but not the best player, who's full of confidence, or a player that's unbelievable with no confidence all day long. Confidence is the most important thing in football. And that was the biggest turning point for me. With confidence comes belief. And then when I'm going into pre-season, into the season, all that work I've done, and I'm feeling fitter and stronger than everybody else, and I'm scoring goals in friendlies, my belief was just there. I was like, I should be playing week in, week out, and I should be scoring goals. I should be challenging the top scorers in this league. Like, why can't I? And I started the season unbelievable, and that's credit to Mike and Busted how much work they did with me. And I think so. That 6 month period, I always say that's the most important 6 month period in my career. I think that's a changing point in my career, Jam. I can't really put my finger on one certain thing. I think it's a number of things. But when you go into a season and you score 32 goals, that came from a confidence I've created in the past 6 months in the pre-season. And then when you win a league and you get moved to Notts County, confidence just grows and grows. And I'm at a point now where if I don't score for a couple of games, it doesn't really matter because I've proved it for the last couple of years. So I'm full of confidence anyway. And that belief's always going to be there now. So I think that I always say I believe I could have done this earlier, but then maybe I'm being naive there because, you know, with experience, when you mature as a player, you get stronger mentally. That comes naturally with experience. So yeah, it's not one thing I can put my finger on, but I think that 6 month period is the one that changed my career path really.
No, do you know what? I'm so happy you said that. And you know, nothing happens before its time. And also, like, I think people need to hear this because people think things happen overnight. You said you knuckled down for 6 months. And after knuckling down for 6 months, that's when the goals started flying. And I think that's very important to hear and trust in the process as well. You know what I mean? And I've got a saying, Jamal knows the saying that I always say, it's belief stems from confidence, confidence comes from consistency, and consistency comes from routine.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I feel like off the back of what you just said is like, yeah, like you've definitely raised your work rate, raised what you're doing in training. You said you're knuckling down and you started seeing the results. And I'm sure that now you've seen the results, that's the level that you operate at on a day-to-day right now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I go back to, this is not me being negative, I go back to a few years back and I never thought I was going to be in this position. So I feel like I've came from the 11th tier of English football. I haven't came through the academy routes. I haven't
11th tier?
I was playing in the 11th tier. I got my move from the 11th tier to Gateshead with Jamal. So I look around the change room and everyone's got the stories about having scholarships, pros, playing at these top clubs. And I'm just completely different. I'm from the 11th tier. So in my opinion, I've massively exceeded my expectations already. And that's what me saying I don't want to kick on and reach my ceiling. I feel like there's so many more levels to go through. But at the moment, I've massively exceeded my expectations. So I'm riding with it. You know, I'm coming in every day. I appreciate where I am. I say that's where I've came from. Now I'm at a club like Notts County. It's a huge club to me, and to many people it might not be nothing, but to me, I'm coming every day, working harder and harder because I appreciate being there. I don't want to go back to the lower levels with all due respect. I want to go and kick on now, and that's just all came from the last few years and the confidence and belief I've got now.
You know what? That's a perfect time because I know Femi's got a great question about players, where they start, where they end up, and their levels. So Fem, I think Mac is the perfect person to ask that question to.
Hey Jam, it's like we're the same person, bro. But yeah, Maka, obviously, look, me and Jamal have been discussing, and we were just a bit of a debate. But do you feel like players that start in the lower leagues go on to have better careers or go on to do better than players that start higher up? And if so, what's the reason why?
I don't think you can quite put your finger on it in terms of, I don't think you can say one or the other's right. In my opinion, what I've seen, the players that come from the lower leagues, now you'll get the odd few that it doesn't work out, they reach a level that they can't really compete at. But I think when a player finds his level, a player that comes from the lower leagues finds his level, I see more hunger in him personally. I see a player that doesn't want to go back to them lower leagues. I see a player that, if a player's went up the levels and played at the same league as the players came down from the levels, not all the time, but personally, I think I see more hunger in the one that came up the levels, and that I think clubs have got to look to the lower leagues more because there's so much quality there. Honestly, I think just given the chance, and you find these diamonds. There's so many out there. I've played at the 11th, 10th tier, and there's players that I've played with, and I follow that league now still. I believe there's players there that can come and play at our level and higher. There's so much quality there. So yeah, I don't think you can say one works better than the other. But from what I've seen, I see more hunger in them players in the lower leagues because they don't want to go back there.
For sure.
Do you know what, Fem? That's an unbelievable question, and I totally agree with Mac. I think there's a different kind of hunger. But the only difference is I feel that players that have started higher have a better understanding of tactics and systems and they should be in their certain positions, where if you haven't had that education, you're kind of a little bit more rough and raw around the edges. But that's not to say it's a negative. Like, that can be actually a good thing because just play off the cuff, and you do things that are not expected. Whereas in certain academies, you're taught a certain way to defend, you're taught a certain way to attack. Whereas when you come from the lower levels, it's kind of street football in a way. So there's definitely a different kind of hunger. Not to say that the players that come from the Premier League teams are not hungry, but it's definitely a case of I'm not trying to go back to the levels where I've got to wash my own kit, or I've got to drive to games on my own, or there's so many different things that happen at our level that you probably won't. People just not expected at the higher levels. You know what I mean? So great question, Fem, and I totally agree with Maka on that point.
Do you know what? Yeah, obviously, speaking to Maka today, you sound very similar to a good friend of mine, Jacob Mendy, where like you guys have probably got two of the most incredible stories in the last couple of years. Yeah, you and Mendy. Mendy came from his story. We're gonna document his story. You know, we'll document his story, but his stories came from literally nothing. Yeah, and what I hear in both of you when you speak is there's a appreciation, there's a hunger first and foremost, but there's also an appreciation of gratitude where like, and I spoke about gratitude the other day, but gratitude, like you're looking around, it's like, rah, I've never been there before. I'm gonna make the most of this opportunity. Like I'm gonna make sure that I don't go back to where I was in the past, which is I think is incredible. I think is incredible. Like this is like we're 40 minutes in, and I'm inspired by the way you talk already. Like it's incredible, it's amazing.
Anyway, appreciate that.
Do you know what, Maka? I've definitely seen a change in you. I've definitely, obviously, when we played together, you had all the ability, but I remember playing against you last year. I felt like you added like a little bit of a nasty streak. Like off the ball, you was giving me little nudges, little digs, and I was looking at you like, I don't remember you did this. Like I still think his little bro, like with my arm around him, but he was giving it to me. So it's a pleasure to see the growth in your game as well, man. So it's as you said, like inspiring even Femi, and you're going to inspire loads of different strikers when they see this. And we're going to go on to advice for youngsters after. But I just want to touch back on some of the games because we need to get through this. Because obviously myself and Femi in a tough spot at the moment with Bournemouth. We can't really catch a break injury-wise. I pulled up yesterday with a little injury, and we lost to our arch rival Barnet. That was a tough one, tough to take because I felt as though we played really well and we conceded a set piece that's not like us. But Femi, talk to me. How did you see that game? Because there was a lot of build-up for the Barnet game.
Look. First and foremost, obviously, you got to give credit to Barnet. I thought they fielded a really good team, and that's one of the best Barnet teams that we've played against in a very long time. You know, we've been playing against them from years, from the days of Ricardo Santos, David Totunda, West Bongok. We've been through so many Barnet teams, you know, and yeah, out of that, I'll say, and that was a really good team. But yeah, yesterday they fielded a really good team, and they play some really good football. With us, we just can't. Yeah, like you said, Jam, we just can't catch a break. The injury list is piling up, you know, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating, you know. And when things ain't going for you, things just are not going for you, you know. We had a couple chances to put the game to bed, you know. Would I say it was our best performance? No, but I did think we done enough to get something out of the game, and it was just so unfortunate to concede from a set piece, you know. But look, tough times don't last, tough people doing it, and I know it sounds mad cliche, but like, come on, where do you go from here? The only way is up, in it, you know what I'm saying? So we just got to continue to trust the process. We just got to continue working, you know, and doing what we believe in. And look, there's a lot of new personnel in the building, and yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. So let's just continue trusting the process. I've got faith in the gaffer. I've got faith in all my teammates. And look, we know the level we can operate at. So if we continue doing what we're doing, I'm sure that look, our fortune will come soon.
For sure. And there was 2 0-0s in the league as well. Mayday drew with Woking. Dorking drew with Eastleigh. Woking are a team that are always going to put up a tough resistance coming to concede goals. And they're probably at the top of the charts right now with their clean sheet record. Our good friend Gus and friend of the show. You played with Gus as well, didn't you, Maka?
Yeah.
Gus bagged yesterday. And I remember Gus always used to hit. He used to think he was playing rugby. He used to even hit. Fem, I swear to you, we used to tell Gus not to shoot. Gus would say, Maka, am I lying? Like, Gus, every time we shot, we'd go over the bar. We'd see Gus line up to shoot, and we'd all run back to our positions and a goal kick. So, Gus, well done for your goal.
Last night was going off though.
The group chat
we were giving it to Gus last night.
Gus is doing well at the moment, so his tail's up at the moment. But yeah, they drew 3-3 of a good Oxford team that beat us. Oxford also come into the league and done well. And then obviously we had Rochdale, who've been on a good run recently, but they come up against a National League team in Halifax that know the league well and know what they're doing. So they lost, unfortunately. But I think what Rochdale have done in the last couple of weeks has given them a bit more confidence coming into the league for the rest of the season as well. It seems as though Altrincham fell off a little bit yesterday, loses to Bromley 2-1. And Kiddie, you was at Gateshead and Russell Penn as well, wasn't you, Maka?
Yeah, Gateshead and York.
Yeah, so they lost as well to Southend, a good Southend team who, again, eradicating that 10-point deduction fairly quickly. Did you ever see Penn becoming a manager, or did you? How did you see that? I know he was our captain at the time.
Yeah, I think I did. I was his car school at Gateshead, so I spent a lot of time with Russ, and the way he's seen the game as well, unbelievable. I think I always seen that he was going into management. I didn't think he'd be as early as he did. I thought he'd play a few more years. I think when he went to Kidderminster, it was quite early. He went into management. But what a guy. Honestly, one of the best guys. Obviously, you know him well, Jan. One of the best guys I've ever came across in football. And I bumped into him in the summer at an awards evening. And I spent like 10, 15 minutes with him. Just put a smile on your face. And he's a manager, I think, that you'd love to play for, in my opinion. And I've spoken to lads, there's a couple of lads that played for us at Kiddie. And they loved him and said, what a guy he's to play for and a very good manager. And the job he's done there to get Kiddie into the National League, he's done an unbelievable job.
100%. Obviously, I used to be his roommate. I think they put the two older statesmen together. You don't even answer my phone calls anymore. So I don't know if it's now he's a manager. You don't want to talk to me, but it seems like he's forgotten me and his success. At least you still answer your phone to me, Maka, man. Honestly. But AFC Fyfield, another team that you're probably well aware of, and Nick Horton leading that squad. But they lost against a resurgent Dagenham and Redbridge yesterday. Dagger seemed to have picked up after a slow start to them. Our ex-teammate Josh Reese was on the score sheet.
Well done, Josh.
He scored as well. So that's the roundup of the fixtures. But Mac, I want to obviously, I don't know if the National League's below you these days, but I wanted to get your take on who you think is maybe a dark horse and maybe the favourites as well.
You know what? I thought they'd do at the start of the season, but Hartlepool, I think. You say a dark horse or a massive club. I don't think it's a dark horse as such because the size of the club, the players have got, the manager's been there, done it. You know, we mentioned Macclesfield. He's got Macclesfield from National League into League Two, so he's got experience. You got York promotion from National League North to National League. So, in my opinion, I think they're going to be right in and amongst it. They've got some top players. You mentioned Manny there. He started the season really well, and I think you mentioned goal scorers as well. You've got someone that's scoring goals. For me, I'm not being biased here. That's probably the most important thing. You look at City, for example, with Haaland. Before that, they win the Premier League every single year. But I had a strike that scores that many goals to win the treble. So to have a strike that scores goals as well, I think Hartlepool have started the season really well, look really strong. Look at the other contenders. Solihull started the season really well. Chesterfield obviously going to be up there. The start of the season, I would have said dark horses, Gateshead. I still believe that they're going to do really well and be in amongst the playoffs. But I think the one team that can go and challenge at the top of the league, probably challenge Chesterfield, is probably Hartlepool. Maybe Barnet as well. You mentioned Barnet. They recruited really well this summer and started the season really well. So I think they'll challenge Chesterfield as well. But I'm looking at Hartlepool and I think that they've got some good players and they've got a good manager there with experience. So I think they could be right at the top of the table.
Yeah, and they've had a couple of bad injuries this week. I know Dodds and Mancini. One was an ACL, I think. One's a long-term hammy. So speedy recovery to those two as well. But yeah, what I want to know from you, Maka, is I want some advice for a young striker coming up who's maybe got a similar pathway to you. He's not playing as much as he wants. What's your advice to him or her? And also secrets to success. Now, obviously, you've tasted a lot of success recently. Your trophy cabinet's probably bulged at the moment. What's your secret to success? Obviously, you spoke about earlier the repetition and the training, but is there any other little gems that you can give players that are watching this?
Well, the first thing I would say is it doesn't matter where you're at what point in your career. It's never too late. I turned pro, and say pro, I signed for Gateshead full-time contract when I was 20-year-old. And that's late for any player. So the one thing I would say is, I know it's a cliche, but never give up, because it's never too late. Honestly, you see these players going through the leagues, starting late and turning pro late. Never too late. Obviously, the other cliche is hard work, but I think when people think of hard work, they think of, I'm going to get fitter, go to the gym. That is beneficial. You need to do that. But for me, I think mentality is everything. Go and listen to podcasts, go and read books. Or genuinely, Jam, I think the biggest reason for my success in the last couple of years is been my mentality. And that's what I've did. Obviously, working with Mike helped that. Mike was the trigger for that. I think, but when you say to players, keep working hard, they'll automatically think, I'm going to get in the gym, get stronger. And that's all good. But I think if you improve your mentality, you're massive on it as well. And I know you read books and listen to podcasts. Like I said, your mentality is everything. Everything comes from mentally. It's the gym, working hard, going to the football pitch. It's all your mentality. So I'd say that as well. And then the third thing is, for a striker, this is something I hate seeing, Jam. When they miss a chance, and this is more talking on the pitch here, when they miss a chance and they don't put themselves in a position to miss again, I hate it, because people speak about conversion rates and things like that. In my opinion, the strikers that score the most goals miss the most chances. It's not sustainable to have one chance a game and score one a game, in my opinion, because there's going to be games where that chance doesn't go in. And if you're only getting one chance a game, that's not sustainable over a period of time. And what you see is people, they'll miss a big chance and they'll almost hide for the next chance because they don't want to miss it again. They're scared of the fear of missing. And that's one thing that I've done. And I miss more chances than anybody. I missed 2 unbelievable chances yesterday before my 2 goals. And I would hate myself if I came away from a game knowing that I could have had a goal, but because I missed the chance before that, I'm not going to put myself in that position to miss again. For me, advice to young strikers is put yourself in a position to score. If you miss, doesn't matter if it's 1 yard tapping and it goes over. Put yourself in the same position, because if you don't do that, you're never going to score. You're never going to react to the miss you've had, and you're not going to score goals, guaranteed. And when I get a little bit sick about missing a chance or anything like that over a season, and people say he misses a lot of chances, I don't care. You look at Haaland. You watched the Sheffield United game last week. He missed 4 or 5 unbelievable chances before his goal, but then he kept on putting himself in the position and scored. And the best players in the world, the best strikers, the ones that score the most goals, miss the most chances. And I think that's when you see, for example, a one-season wonder, because they'll have an unbelievable season and everything will be going in, but they'll get 1 chance a game, and that's not sustainable in my eyes. I always look at my stats and my expected goals. I like to be underperforming my expected goals, because that means I'm getting good chances. And I think the hardest thing in football for a striker is getting the chance. Scoring the goal is probably easier than getting the chance. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to keep on putting yourself in the positions to score goals and miss chances. Don't be scared of missing, because ultimately, I think goal scoring is the hardest thing in football. So people are going to miss. So keep on going. Every single chance, put yourself in the right position.
So it's about basically having a short memory every time you miss a chance.
Exactly.
To be fair, I was saying to Femi, I've had about 6 chances this year. I've scored 1 goal. So you know what? I'm taking that advice myself. When I come back to full fitness, I keep getting myself in the positions. But going on to like your like yesterday, I think one was a dink and one was a left foot into the top corner. Where does that come from? Is that repetition and practice, or is that just I don't even, it's definitely not luck, because you scored over 80 goals in however many seasons, but where does that come from? Is that just repetition and practice, or what is it?
Well, the first goal, I think it's just instinct. I think that's something that you can't teach too much. It's more the ball's went in the air, it came down, I've proved and I haven't even thought about it. I've literally just cried, swung my left foot because I seen the goal. And I spoke about their expected goals and things like that. I don't like scoring too many of them ones because a lot of the time they don't go in. So if you score on them goals, how sustainable is that? I speak about being sustainable all the time in terms of goals. Them ones I don't like scoring too much, as mad as it sounds. People used to ask me, what would you rather score, a 30-yard strike or 1v1? I'm like, 1v1 easy, and people couldn't believe it. But I'm like, how many times am I going to score from 30 yards? That's just one hit, do you know what I mean? So the first goal, yeah, it was completely instinct, and obviously I took it out with my left foot. It's a decent finish. Repetition, yeah, you know, just in the round the box, good drills in training every single day. As many shots as you can through the week, try and hit the back of the net, get used to that, the habits of it in the back of the net. The second goal was actually last year. I did a lot of work with the goalkeeper coach, watching keepers and the way they come out and things like that, and how they approach me as I'm going through one-on-one. And a lot of the time, I try and sort of go far post with a bit of pace. And I remember thinking at the end of the season, I think I need to think more keepers come out and come quite low. I just remember thinking, if I can think, I'll probably score more goals when I'm going through one-on-one. So that one has been playing in my mind. The next one-on-one chance I'm going to get, I'm going to try and think it.
Yeah, so your work, so that's so interesting you said that. You're working with goalkeepers, not even your manager or a striker coach. You're asking questions of the goalkeepers to see their habits and what they do.
Well, to be fair, our goalkeeper coach, he works with set pieces and things like that. He does quite a lot. And before every game, he'll send us clips of the keeper and how we can sort of gain an advantage when we go through one-on-one. How does he come out? Because some stay big, some go low, different things like that. Some he can go around. So he'll do that every single game regardless. But I can just remember last year saying the keeper comes out and comes quite low. So maybe lift it high. And I didn't really do it, Jamal. I missed a couple of chances. The keeper was saving it with his feet. And I was thinking, I should have just dinked it. And then going into the season, it was, I haven't had a 1v1 this season until yesterday. So I thought, going into the season, the first 1v1 I'm going to get, I'm going to try and dink the keeper. And luckily, yeah, it was, I think it was 90th minute, and luckily he went in.
And also, Maka, obviously, you mentioned you gave advice to players about scoring goals. Who is would you say is your player to watch this season in the National League?
Obviously, the obvious one, he started the season really well, is Don Polion. He's had an unbelievable season last year. I think he scored 31 last year in the National League South, and Jam spoke about him, natural goal scorer. I think he's the one. Obviously, I don't want to beat my record, but if he does, it's one of them records that I want to stand forever. But
That's
if someone beats that,
no one's beating that.
If you beat it, it's one of them.
No one's beating that.
It's not a fluke.
Mike, stop being modest. You know no one's beating that record.
Nah, but I think people thought that the 40 goal from Ricky Miller would never be beaten. So the record's are always there to be broken. And if someone beats that, hands up, honestly, he deserves it because it's no fluke. The one player I would say, and this is not necessarily just goal scoring, just all-round player I've been so impressed with, is Stephen Ware, Gateshead. And I spoke to Busted a lot about him. And Busted speaks so highly of him. Incredible talent. Stockton boy as well. He's from around my way, so I like to follow him and see how he's doing. But he's starting the season really, really well. And the feedback I've had from other people saying how good he's been in training and things like that. I think he scored yesterday against Oldham. I think he's a player that can really kick on this year, and I think he'll be one to watch for me.
Yeah, and he scored a hat-trick the other week as well, to be fair.
Yeah. So he's adding goals to his game as well, which is obviously, for a winger, number 10, it's important.
No, of course. And my second favourite part of this episode is our word of the week. This is where we give a word that we're going to take into a week and use that if any time we feel down or we need a little pick-me-up, this is the word we refer back to. So, Fem, what's your word of the week, my boy?
You know what? This episode today as well, it just puts that word into perspective for me. My word is remember. I feel like you need to remember where you come from to know where you're going. These are all cliche quotes, you know, but I feel like we need to start really, really taking them in. They're not there. They're not quotes for no reason. You know, look, we all came from humble beginnings, isn't it? Like, all of us. And now, obviously, Maka, I can see one nice backdrop in your thing. Jamal, you're in your office. I'm in my office, but it wasn't always like this, you know. Do you know what I mean? it wasn't always like this, you know. And you could easily forget about what we had to do to get into this position. I feel like remembering where you've come from, remembering the struggle, or remembering the hard times, and keeping that close to you, you know, it helps. It helps in terms of moving forward. Also, reason why remember is a big word is because that hunger that I had, or we had when we didn't have much, you know, that hunger, you know, I like to remember that when we were trying to find a foothold into this football game, you know, trying to find a way to get a pro contract, that hunger that we had, that desire, that we need to remember that feeling and keep it close to us, you know, and let that take us in our day-to-day now, you know. And I've just been recently trying to remember all of that feeling, all of that hunger when I used to jump on 4 trains to football training, and I've just been trying to remember it recently, you know, and trying to keep it close to me, and trying to adapt that mentality or that hunger that I had back then. So yeah, that's why I remember is my word for the week.
Mac, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I need a word from you, mate. I need a word.
Do you know what? It's probably similar to Femi's there, and it's one that I've mentioned in this podcast so far. It's just appreciate where you came from, appreciate where you're at. Like you said there, we haven't always had this. I've never always played in the football league. I've always thought the football league's the pinnacle for me. I always wanted to reach that, and I was going to train. Like I say, I've said it in this podcast. I go to train every single day, just appreciating what I've got now, where I've came from, and that's why I work so hard. And I think that's the one thing that you've got to do. I think we take it for granted sometimes. Like, we're playing football for a living, you know. We're getting paid to play football. And as a kid, if you said to me, when you get older, you're gonna get paid to play football, I wouldn't have believed you, and that would have meant everything to me. So just, yeah, it's similar to Femi's. Obviously, he's speaking about remembering where you came from, things like that. Yeah. Just appreciate everything you've got and the level you're playing at, and you're going in with an unbelievable group of lads every single day. The banter's flowing in the changing room. You go on the football pitch, you're working hard, you're exercising, keeping fit, and then you're getting a feel of 3 points on a Saturday. It's the best career. Obviously, at times, there's probably more lows than highs in football. It's a crazy industry, but the highs are worth it. So yeah, just appreciate what you've got, and we play football for a living, so just appreciate that every single day and keep working hard.
No, I love that. So Femi's word is remember, and your word is appreciation. I'll be honest, Fem, your 2 words, I don't think I need to add one, bro. Honestly, I don't think I need to add one today. And I actually have one, but I don't think I need to add one, because remember and appreciation, I just think they're 2 of the best that we've had, to be fair. So if you don't mind, Fem, I'm going to take a step back. Is that all right? Is that all right? So yeah, Mac, I just want to say, Mac, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on our show and blessing us with your presence and your knowledge. I wish you nothing but success, continued success. Carry on doing what you're doing. I've loved watching your career. And like last year when I asked you for 50, I need 50 this year, bro. I need 50 goals as well, man.
I'll try, bro.
Well, Fem, wrap us up, bro.
Maka, thanks very much for coming on the episode. You've definitely inspired me, and I'm sure that when this lands, it's going to inspire a lot of people. I'm going to hold you to that, taking me out for some of that power. Is that what it's called, yeah? Palmo, yeah. So yeah. When I'm up north, I'm going to shout you, and we're going to go for some Palmo.
It's got to be Middlesbrough, because anywhere else, it doesn't taste the same. So it's got to be in Middlesbrough. So if it in Middlesbrough, let's go for a Palmo.
Okay, we'll go for a Palmo in Middlesbrough, yeah. But yeah. No, honestly, it's been a great episode. So thank you for blessing us, guys. Thank you for watching the episode. Please like, subscribe, share, show a friend, do whatever you need to do. Just help us push this show beyond the 92, because we're trying to do good things, you know. But thank you everyone for watching.
Nice one.
Maka,
Mac,
yes,
Maka, you're a legend, bro. Thank you, man.
absolute legend.
Really enjoyed that, lads. Thanks for having me. Brilliant.